Why y'all so happy?
You don't know? Sharvette Mitchell is on the radio.
It's time to get motivated, excited, and influenced. Why? It's the Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show, live from Richmond, Virginia. And now, here to motivate, excite, and influence you, Sharvette Mitchell.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show, broadcasting from the capital city of Richmond, Virginia. But guess what? Heard all across the world wide web. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here for another phenomenal show. Yes. I have two dynamic guests that are joining us. Actually, both of them are authors, and I'm telling you what, you want to put your seatbelts on. You don't want to move at all because you are going to enjoy both of our guests. So my first guest is hanging out in the virtual green room. I know she is enjoying some virtual snacks while she is in there, and I'm going to be bringing her up to the mic momentarily. We're going to be chatting with author Demetria Buie, and she has a new book out, Refuse to Lose. And listen, she says you got any hang-ups, you got anything that's holding you back, you have to release it. You got to refuse to give up. You got to refuse to accept failure. You have to refuse to be a victim. You have to refuse to lose. So I know you are going to feel motivated and inspired after that segment. And then we are going to be moving into another segment, and I'm excited. The second guest that we have coming up later on in the hour is the author A.Duncan II, Esquire. Listen, he went from hustling crack on a corner to practicing law in a courtroom. Real talk, real life. And so he's here today to talk about his gripping autobiography book that's out called Felon-Attorney. Oh, my goodness. Yes. This is something you want to hear about. Certainly, along the way, he had a lot of disappointments, ups and downs, but he has succeeded in life, and he's an inspiration really to any of us and all of us. So you're going to get to hear more about Felon-Attorney later on. So this is what I want you to do. Jump online, jump on Twitter, tell them what you're listening to, jump on Facebook, tell them what you're listening to, share the link and all that good stuff so that they can join us here on the Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show. We got to give a big shout out to those that are hanging out on the phone lines already. Hello, I'm waving. Thank you for joining us. Those that are coming in from Twitter, hello. Those that are listening in from Facebook, from Sharvette.com, and certainly all of our broadcast stations, and those listening from my mobile app. You can grab my free mobile app. Just look for Sharvette. All right, so we're ready to jump right on in. You know what? I think you guys are ready. Again, author Demetria Buie is joining us, life coach, author, has experienced many things in life. We're going to get to meet her and hear from her, but her resounding message to us is refuse to lose. And so coming up right now, bringing her up to the mic right now. Hello, Demetria. Welcome to the Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you for having me.
I am wonderful. How are you doing?
And I'm doing fabulous.
Oh, wow. Well, listen, I'm glad we have a chance to chat and just showcase you with our listening audience. So let's yes, amen. So let's talk. Refuse to lose. What was the catalyst that drove you to say, I've got to write a book?
Well, I always wanted to write when I was a little girl. And what really started motivating me to really write and to say I'm going to tell my life story was when I was about 22 years old and I became homeless. My book touches on family forgiveness and how to really just love yourself. And at the age of 22, when I became homeless, I remember walking into a Goodwill store on the Lothian Turnpike when I moved to Richmond, Virginia, and I remember going in there and I was homeless. And I remember everyone looking at me. I had holes in my shirt, and I started crying, and I went on the aisle and to myself, I said that I had two choices to make. I was to the end of my rope of everything that I had been through in my life, or experience, my father beating my mom, down to dropping out of school in the 8th grade, to almost being raped by my uncle, and there was nothing done about it. And just my mother and father not being there for me, I was at the end of my rope. And I said to myself, I said I had two choices to make. I was going to live or I was going to die. And I chose to live that day, that moment in that Goodwill store. And I walked back to my car, and I just kept writing. I kept writing. And I said, I have to publish this book. I have to get my story out there so someone can hear this testimony, so someone can see what I went through and what God brought me through, so they can go through it also. And God, it was his grace, it was his mercy that kept me through it all, and I just continued to write. I wrote my book, and I got it out there.
My goodness! So let me reiterate some things. So you were homeless, as in not having a place to live,
not having food, not having a place to live, not having family, not having no one. I was pure homeless. I had a car that I had purchased a year prior to being homeless. I had nothing. I had nothing. I had no one.
Wow. And you went back to your car and you started writing.
I kept writing. I kept going forth. I said I knew it had to be something better for me. I kept going forward. I kept praying. I kept going forward. And when you keep praying, prayer changes things.
Absolutely.
It really does. And when I came up out of that, I knew that it wasn't nothing but the grace of God. I knew that prayer had changed my life.
My God, and what's so profound, and I just got to throw in, what is so profound is that you were homeless and you started writing. You know, a lot of times we wait until we have gone through an experience and everything is good, and then we go back, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I think it's profound that you were, you know, and some of the things that you wrote, you were able to later utilize for the book.
Yes. And just at the age of 30, I'm just so surprised as a woman that I have became of going through all of that. And, you know, with the attempted rape, and it was witnessed by my mom, and, you know, we called my aunt and everybody, and nothing was done about it. And I carried that on for years. It on for years. And I blame myself for it. I carried that anger, that bitterness with me forever, and I found forgiveness. I found true forgiveness. I forgive myself. I forgave him, and I just knew that forgiveness was the key to unlock the freedom for my life.
And I love that is a theme also with the book, is around forgiveness for yourself. Not saying that you're not going to forgive other people, but definitely highlighting that there are things that you may have feel like, if I'd have made a different decision or went a different route, maybe I wouldn't have ended up here. But you know what? Wiping the slate clean and forgiving yourself. Oh, my goodness. Listeners, if you just tuned in, hey there. You're checking out the Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show. We're broadcasting live from the capital city of Richmond, Virginia, with author Demetria Buie is here with me in the virtual studio. I love it, Demetria, when I get to interview others from Richmond as well, because I interview people from all over. And so in the book, you talk, or what's highlighted, all kinds of things you got to refuse to give up and you got to refuse to be a victim to. And so certainly marriages, I think all of us would agree, are an area that there are people are finding a struggle, struggling in the area of marriage. What do you talk about in the book that would help somebody either experiencing trouble or they are going through divorce?
Yes, my second book, I talked about, the title was Married and Still Alone. I was in a previous marriage, and I was still alone. It was like I was still single. I was still by myself. We was not spiritually connected. And all the signs was there. All the signs was there at the beginning. I prayed. All the signs was there. I ignored them. I ignored the sign because I didn't want to be alone. I got tired of waiting on God, of me praying, asking for a husband. I got tired of waiting. And the man, he was not for me. And I ignored the signs. I ignored God, and I went on ahead and did my plan. I ignored God's plans that he had for my life, and I went on to my plans. And I tell everybody, you do not have to stay in a relationship where you are not happy, that you are not spiritually connected. You are not connected at all. You do not have to stay. And a lot of people waste time. They waste all their time waiting for somebody to change. You cannot change them. Only God can change them. Stop trying to change people. Stop trying to change them. Only God can change them. You can pray for them, but live your life. Be happy. Do what God has called you to do.
Yeah, and look at the signs ahead of time, right?
Yes. Do not ignore the signs. No matter if you want to be, you're tired of being alone. You just need somebody there. And when you begin to pray and you begin to love yourself, you won't feel alone. You won't feel like you have to have somebody in your life that you would just settle for that person just being, just anybody. Be with who God has called you to be with. All the signs will be there. The person who God has called you to be with. The signs will definitely be there.
So what are example of signs? And it may not be your specific situation, but I know you've mentored and coached other women. What are some signs they might see that might nudge them in the way of this is not the one?
Oh my God, those are those signs that I know I had one. And when we first met through someone, we started talking. We went to a restaurant to eat. And the person fixed his food wrong. And sometimes it can be just a little bitty sign. It doesn't have to be the major sign. His order, his burger got wasn't done. It wasn't like he asked for it. And he threw the plate down. Yeah, this supposed to be a Christian man. I'm supposed to have been dating. And he threw the plate down and he cussed the waitress out. He had a temper. He was very angry. He ignored me a lot. But he bought me things. And I think that the money overtook a lot. I looked at the money more than I looked at who he really was. And us women, we can get so caught up in that, in the gift, especially if you ain't never been gifted or wiped it up before, you would get caught up. You would definitely get caught up in it. You would definitely get caught up in the money, and you would ignore the abuse. It doesn't have to be physically fighting you, but abuse can be verbal abuse, hollering at you, screaming at you, just being disrespectful, not listening to you. All that is abuse. All of it is abuse.
Wow.
And when I began to just definitely pray, know who I am, I went back and just kept writing, and I knew that I deserved better because God has given me better. And I tell everyone, when Christ becomes the reason you live, you will never have a reason to give up. You will never have a reason to settle. When he becomes the reason you're living, you'll never have a reason to give up. You won't.
I love that. And so tell listeners how they can get a hold, really, of all of your books.
All of my Yes, all of my books are on Amazon. All of my books can be purchased on Amazon.
Wonderful. So check out Amazon, and if you're hanging out at Sharvette.com, I've got a great blog post about Demetria Buie. There is a link that'll at the very bottom that'll say click here to buy, and you can head on over to Amazon there, and so you have the information right there. So Let's continue talking about refuse to lose, and so certainly this book, you've had an opportunity to share some of your life experiences, which have made you a subject matter expert, in saying you don't have to lose, you don't have to give up. What are some tips for people that are maybe on that brink of, I feel like I'm not going to win at this. I feel like I'm not going to make it. I feel like I'm not going to lose. What tips do you give to them?
I give them tips of keep going.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, that was my motto. It was keep going. Don't matter if you don't have food to eat. No matter what you're going through, keep going. It is the grace of God will definitely see you through. Keep going. Keep praying. Keep going. Just keep going. I'm telling you, you're going to see a good end. I'm telling you, you're going to come out of it. I'm 30 years old, and of everything that I have been through, I talk about it in my book, and how I was treated, and dropping out of school in the 8th grade, just everything. I'm just surprised of the woman I am today, and I just kept going. I said, and I just think about that thing, and I said, it just got to be the grace of God. It just has to, because I could have been an abuser from watching my father beat my mother. I could have been a killer. I could have been. My daddy was. He used to kill men and come home and brag about it. I could have been this destroyed woman. I could have been, but I'm not. I could have been out in the streets. I could have been hoeing off. I could have been doing so much other things rather than writing my books and just praying and just keep going on as the woman of God that I am. And I just thank God for it every single day. I know it was nothing but His grace and His mercy that just kept me, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful every single day for it.
Every day. And so the book, yes, very thankful. We are. He is gracious to us all. So absolutely, and we thank Him and recognize that really God is in control. And so several chapters, you've got several chapters lined out in the book. One chapter, chapter 5, finding the good in the evil. Finding the good in the evil. Give us a sneak peek. What's in that chapter?
Okay, in chapter 5, I talked about how me and my sister did not get along. I talked about how she treated me. She was the one that kicked me out of my house because I had lost my job and I became homeless. And I continue to still pray for her. I talked about the 3 times that I had to call the police on her. I talked about why was she so evil to me. And I just kept treating her with goodness, and I kept praying for her, and I did not treat her how she treated me. And I had to find the good in the evil, and I did, because us as Christians, we can't act like the world. We have to we have to act like, like Jesus wants us to act. And that's what, it came hard sometimes, but I did it, and I got through it. I did it, and I got through it.
Awesome. And so chapter 8 says love from a distance. Love from a distance. Tell us some little snippets from that chapter.
I continue to talk about my family, of how I was the black sheep, and how no one really, I was suicidal by the age of 13 because I felt like I did not deserve to be in this world. I felt like I had no purpose. Did nobody care about me going to school? I had older sisters, and I was like, why isn't no one checking on me? Why isn't, why everybody just wants to hit on me and I'm not doing anything to them and put me out their homes? And, I just didn't understand. So, I just have to keep going.
Keep going, and then certainly the chapter 13, putting the past behind me. So I think that is a great kind of towards the end of the second to the last chapter, putting the past behind me. So talk a little bit about that.
I had to put the past behind me in order to live my future. And I've seen a lot of bitterness in me, and a lot of hatred began to happen with me because I kept thinking of my past. And I talked to some family members, and the only thing they would say is, "Let it go, let it go." And it was like, I can't let it go because your past can affect your future, and it was affecting me. I couldn't even live. I couldn't even focus. And I was just like, I had to put my past behind me. I had to forgive. And, I even went to them and said, I'm sorry. And they was looking at me like, and I just, I just wanted to live the life that God had called me to live, and I just wanted to move forward. That's what I wanted to do, and I definitely I went back to school. I got my GED. I went to college, and I wrote my books, and taking care of my 3-year-old son, and I just put the past behind me, and I just kept moving forward. And the people who did wrong me, that's something I would definitely accept the apology, but I have already forgiven them, and I just move forward.
All right. And so I think those are examples of things that you just mentioned are certainly examples of moving forward and how you have allowed these things to just be really stepping stones and building blocks for you. And now you are a published author and life coaching. And do you have any speaking engagements or anything coming up or events coming up you want to let people know about?
I have a book signing this Saturday. I've been having book signings every other Saturday, but I have a book signing coming up this Saturday at the Apple Tree in West Monroe in Louisiana. Yeah.
Oh, all the way in Louisiana. Okay.
Yeah, that's where I'm from. I'm from Louisiana. I moved to Richmond when I was 18.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Big shout out over there. And so, once again, how can listeners pick up copies of your book?
Go to www.amazon.com.
All right, there you go, Demetria Buie. Pick it up there. There's one Amazon customer who bought the book and said, this woman greatly inspires me. I see her books as great blessings. Even men can learn a lot of wisdom from her anointed words. Looking forward to the next book. Oh, wow. So that's a review live right there from Amazon.
Yes.
Thank you, reviewer. Thank you, reviewer. Is it available in paperback and in digital formats?
Just right now, just available in paperback. Mm-hmm.
All right. So keep your eye out there. And then the other book as well. What's the title of the other book?
Married and Still Alone. And my magazine is, I do magazines called Empowering Women to Speak Out.
Okay. How can they get a hold of the magazine?
It's on Amazon, too.
Oh, okay. So Amazon is your one-stop shop.
Yeah.
I love it. And if people want to connect with you on social media, how can they find you?
They can go to Facebook, Arthur Demetria, and I also have my business page, Refuse to Lose.
Okay, and I have tagged everywhere, Facebook and all that good stuff. So if you're following me, and I know you are, Sharvette, just facebook.com/Sharvette. It's a public post, so that's an easy connection point there to get to Demetria. All right, and so my last question for you, the goal of my show is to motivate, excite, and influence. And we want to know what continues to motivate you.
I would definitely say my son. I would definitely say when he came, he just continued to motivate me to keep going forward, and yes.
All right. Big shout out to him. And 3 years old, so I know your hands are full and you running around.
All the time.
They are amazing. Children are amazing. They're like sponges. They can learn so much so quickly.
Yes, he does.
Wonderful. All right. Well, it has been great having you on the show, author Demetria Buie. Again, thank you for stopping by and just giving us the encouragement to keep going and around your book, Refuse to Lose. All right. Well, thank you so much for stopping by. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you are quite welcome. All right, listeners, we are going to take a quick break, and then we're going to be back with our next segment. And I'm telling you what, you don't want to move. Our next segment you're going to just be shaking your head like, what? Oh, my goodness. We have thearthur-a-duncan II, Esquire, is joining us. He's actually hanging out in the virtual green room right now, ready to come up to the mic. He went from hustle and crack on the corner to practicing law in a courtroom. This is a life story, an autobiography you don't want to miss, and you're going to hear all about felon-attorney when we return back from our quick commercial breaks. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back.
It's the Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show. Sharvette will be back after this.
Spiritual Food for Thought, 31 inspirational quotes to jumpstart your day by Demetria Buie consists of inspirational messages that offer daily words of empowerment, promote spiritual growth and development in the Lord Jesus Christ for your day-to-day living. Spiritual Food for Thought, 31 inspirational quotes to jumpstart your day. Available now on Kindle, ebook, and paperback. Log on to www.letiboyd.com.
Does your church or ministry have a website? Are you a local artist or author that has an established web presence? If you answered no to any of these questions, you're letting countless opportunities pass you by. Hi, I'm Sharvette Mitchell. Mitchell Productions was created with your needs in mind. We will provide you with stylish and economical online marketing solutions. From email marketing to your own website, Mitchell Productions caters to ministries, nonprofits, small businesses, and special events. Check out our portfolio at mitchell-productions.com. In today's world, a website is not a luxury, it's a necessity. And Mitchell Productions can create your website in a stylish manner at a very economical price. Don't let business, customers, or new congregation members pass you by. Visit Mitchell Productions today at www.mitchell-productions.com. Let us showcase your organization to the world.
IndustryBuzz with 3Zs.com. Join in today on the movement to bring integrity back to media. With one click of a button, you can disseminate your information right from Industry Buzz to all your favorite social sites like Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, and to your email contact. Maximize your vision today. Plus, get the latest news, entertainment, and media. Need fashion or makeup tips? Looking for a job? Connect with us today. Want to connect with other business visionaries? Connect with us today. This site is for everyone, from teens to music lovers, from businessmen and women, industry professionals and performers. As a member of Industry Buzz with 3Zs, you'll gain help promoting your vision. Industry Buzz with 3Zs will expose, expand, and keep your fan base up to date with all your happenings. Members also receive free or discounted perks from various sponsored companies. So join the social network, expand, and stabilize your business. Connect with like-minded individuals. Need an artist to minister at your upcoming event? Look on Industry Buzz. Have a voice and submit your article to our e-magazine. Industry Buzz with 3Zs is the place to globalize your vision. Establish it today. Be heard. It's all on Industry Buzz with 3Zs.com.
Hello, we are 123jobzone.com, an online job search portal. We are user-friendly, and if you're searching for a job, with us, it's easy as 1, 2, 3. Step 1, go to www.123jobzone.com and register as a job seeker. Step 2, once registered, upload your resumes. Step 3, get connected with employers looking for people like you who are ready and willing to work. Don't forget to follow 123 Job Zone on Twitter and Facebook to find out more about our upcoming job fairs. What are you waiting for? Stop by 123jobzone.com today. Good luck with your job search.
She's here to motivate, excite, and influence you. She's Sharvette Mitchell. It's the Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show with in-depth interviews from today's leading authors, gospel artists, stars that you want to know about. And now, Sharvette Mitchell.
All right. Welcome back once again to the Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show. Super excited to have all of those that are tuning in from all across the World Wide Web, those that are hanging out on the phone lines. Hey there. Those that are coming in from Twitter and from Instagram and from Sharvette.com. Certainly those coming in from Facebook. Hello there. Thank you for listening. Those coming in from our broadcast stations. Hello. Thank you. Listen, we are moving right on in to our second segment here. You know, we love authors here. We love people who inspire. The goal of our show is to motivate, excite, and influence, and we bring you guests that do just that. So coming up next, again, I mentioned from hustling crack on the corner to practicing law in a courtroom, we're excited to hear this story of triumph, really, for anyone who's thinking I can't barely make it, or I've had some upsets and some disappointments and made bad decisions and all of that. Can I turn it around? Can I come up out of it? The answer is yes. And so we are going to share with you a living testament that is absolutely what you can do. So we're going to running to the virtual green room to pick up our next guest to bring up to the mic, the Arthur-a-Duncan II, Esquire, coming up right now live on the Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show. Hello and welcome.
Good morning. Good evening. Sorry. Good evening. How are we doing tonight?
It's morning somewhere in the world. Hi there.
How are you doing?
Well, I am doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm blessed.
Absolutely. Listen, we got to jump right on in because there's so much to talk to you about. So certainly just the title of the book alone, even if someone doesn't read your bio, doesn't read anything, felon-attorney, I think people think, oh, this must be some good, like, fiction, some good, story, like Law and Order. So do you get those type of responses until they find out that it's autobiography?
Yeah. They believe that it's an attorney that probably got in trouble while he was practicing and got a felony and probably later on went to jail, as opposed to a felon who became an attorney after he committed a crime and did time in prison.
Wow. So let's talk about your upbringing and just kind of painting the picture, from South Central LA, painting the picture of how your beginnings really started.
All over the place. Again, I was born in Los Angeles. My mother was out in L.A. basically by herself. My other family was back here in Buffalo. She moved out there. She wound up having me in 1969 during the time of Vietnam, and my father was in Vietnam, so he was off to the war. So it kind of left her to kind of raise and fend for me by herself. With that, out there struggling in L.A., she sent me back to Buffalo to my grandparents. And in Buffalo, my grandfather owned 5 houses on the same street, and so it was nothing but family in all the houses. So I loved Buffalo. I would go house to house. I was part of a neighborhood, a community where I knew everybody. Out in L.A., my mother was constantly moving from one apartment to the next, so I didn't know anyone. I didn't really like it, so it's funny, I would go back and forth. I did kindergarten in Buffalo, first grade back in L.A. with my mom's, second grade and third grade out in L.A., third grade in Buffalo, fourth in L.A., fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth back in Buffalo, then 9th through 12th, my high school years back in L.A., and then a year after high school in L.A., I came back to Buffalo, and I wound up staying. So I've been back and forth like all my life.
My goodness. First of all, you need an award just to be able to remember those dates and where you were, and so certainly that probably played a role, I would think, in your upbringing, just not really having roots. I would think, and then you've got the gangs, so the Crips and the Bloods, and all of that is going on in the L.A. Area at that time, right?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I was just out there for a funeral, and I was asking my dad, how was the gang activity, and he said, for the most part, he think the Latin gangs that kind of took over, and the Bloods and Crips wasn't as prevalent as they were when I was living there back in the late '80s.
Wow.
But here in Buffalo, I did have, it was stable here. As I said, I lived with my grandparents, and my grandfather was a pastor of a church. And I was a junior deacon when I was younger, so it was a stable environment here. But, being that my grandfather was 40, 50 years older than me, there was some disconnect as far as he was a father figure, but it wasn't that, a connection that you have with your dad.
Right.
After I graduated from elementary school here in the 8th grade, I decided to go back to L.A. To get to know my father, who I talked to on the phone while I was here in Buffalo. And I went out there just to visit the summer after the 8th grade, and I wind up staying with my mom's, my little brother, and my little brother's father, and then also to try to get to know my father better. So I wind up staying, and this was at the time in the late 80s when like gang violence in the gangs, they was just like everywhere, every corner, and I lived in a blood neighborhood in Inglewood, and I went to school with Crips. So I was constantly like, I couldn't wear this color when I was at home, but then when I went to school, I couldn't wear that color. So I was trying to find like neutral colors, but at the same time, I wanted to wear what I wanted to wear. So it was a couple of times that, using public transportation that I got on the bus a couple of times, and there was gangbangers there, and it was a few confrontations. One confrontation that I did talk about in the book was I had on a purple Lakers jacket, and I got on the bus, and there was some Crips on the bus, and one of the Crips, he came over to me and put a knife to my throat and made me take off my Laker jacket and give it to him.
Wow. And so this, just growing up with this, around this, when you were in the L.A. area, you eventually became a drug dealer yourself, ironically.
Yeah, the ironic part is that while I was in L.A., this was when the cocaine crack epidemic, what they call the freebasing, in the late 80s, hit L.A. hard, and my brother's father, who lived with us at the time, he began to use very hard, and it got real bad at home that he lost his job, and then he would start stealing stuff in the house, the TV, the VCR. He would keep us up in the middle of the night, 2, 3 in the morning, banging on the door and the windows. He would take money from my mother. One time I came home from school, and my mother had put him out. And one day I came home from school, and he had bust the patio window, and glass was just like shattered all over the house. And he had like took everything he could get his hands on, and basically just like I came in, and the house was just almost vacant, so to speak. So, I was dealing with that, and it got so bad to the point that he had a drug debt, and that the drug dealers threatened to kill him, me, my little brother, and my mother if the drug debt wasn't paid. And also at this time, he had started to, abuse my mother, and with his addiction, and it got real bad. At the point, and that was during my high school years. After a while, he called a relative, and they were able to pay his drug debt, and he left town. So that kind of, ended that the issue we was having with his drug addiction. After that, I was kind of like done with L.A. It was to the point that I had all these bad memories in L.A. dealing with that situation, and also I was still dealing with all the gang violence and stuff, and everywhere I would go, that you were subject to running to the wrong person, the wrong crowd. You couldn't go to the store. So I was kind of done with L.A. So I kind of and again I came back to Buffalo to visit, and I wind up staying.
Wow, wind up staying.
Yeah. And then, when I came here for a while, I started hanging around my friends that I went to elementary school with, just playing basketball and hanging out. I went to school I enrolled to community college, but I didn't continue going. I dropped out. Now I started working little mediocre jobs here and there, still hanging around my friends, and I started to find out that they were all like selling drugs. And I told myself that, I would never sell drugs because of what I went through in LA, and I knew what it could do to a family. And, plus being back in Buffalo, living back with my grandparents, and my grandfather's still a minister, selling drugs was something that I told myself I would never do. It would be a total disrespect to my upbringing and to my grandfather. But, I just kept hanging around that bad crowd. I wind up having my oldest son. Then I needed to take care of him. And again, I tried to work little mediocre jobs, a bus aide, worked in the department store, and still, again, hanging around my friends. And, it wasn't like they forced me to do anything, but it's kind of like that influence, like, you need to get some money. And then, I would go places with them. They would pay for everything. We would go to the mall. They would buy me like Timbs and sneakers and stuff. And like, you need to get this money. What you doing with yourself? This is easy money. So I started off selling a little weed. And, I thought, well, weed ain't that bad. No big deal. I could just sell a little weed. And I did that for a while. But, but it was like small money. And that big money was just a draw. And again, I had these friends. It was like 5 or 6 of us, and they were selling crack on the corner, and I was hanging out with them on the corner, but I was selling weed. So eventually, I lost my money in a CeeLo game. In a 3-night CeeLo game, I lost all my weed money, so I was like broke. And so I went to one of my friends and I kind of asked him for a loan, and he was kind of like, why are you doing that? You need to, get some real money. And so he kind of showed me the ropes, and from there it all went south.
It all went south. Oh, my goodness. Listeners, I know you are on the edge of your seat right now. And if you just tuned in, hey, you're checking out the Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show. And we are talking about a book that you've got to pick up, Felon-Attorney by thearthur-a-duncan II, Esquire. Check it out if you're hanging out on Sharvette.com. I've got a great blog post there, all the links and all that good stuff right there for you. And so what's amazing is like you said, you told yourself, I've seen the impact of drugs. I would never get into this, the selling game, but you did, ironically get into what actually victimized your family, but it just shows the strong influence of the people around us. And so I'm sure that when you talk to youth and teens, what do you talk about that influence piece?
Well, especially those that's kind of like caught up like nowadays, and that's their friends and their environments. And I just kind of use what I did after the fact to become an attorney. And I basically, and which is very hard, I had to separate myself from all my friends. I had to just focus and make a conscious effort of what I was trying to do, and not change for no one. Even the fact when I got out of jail, everything that I kind of had from drug dealing was gone. And I got out of jail, I was broke. All I had was a high school diploma. I was in a halfway house. I had to find a job. And when I caught my case, I didn't catch my case with my friends that I was hustling with. I caught my case. I met a guy from New York City who was in the area, and he basically was trying to get me on his team. And so he basically gave me some stuff to kind of try out.
Okay.
And so I'm thinking, okay, let's see what his product is like. and maybe if his product is good, I might turn my crew onto it. So I got involved with him, and he was already being watched by the FBI. So I kind of got pulled in this indictment, him coming from New York City and all the people that he was involved with. And so, and ironically, my jail, I got indicted just for a phone call. The phone was tapped, and I got a conspiracy charge. And the only thing, and this was, I tell people, you can be slick as you think you are, and they don't even got to catch you with anything. And conspiracy is so large, you know what I mean, that I caught my case because I was on the phone with them, and I told them that I have something for you. I'll call you tomorrow, and that was it.
What?
And so what happened? So what happened was when he was arrested and he took his plea, he told the federal authorities what that conversation was about. So that's how I got indicted, and that's how easy it is. So I never got caught with anything. You know what I mean? I got my charge was conspiracy to control and distribute a controlled substance. So
wow.
So with that, you know what I mean? That's you know, and I tell people and kids when I talk to them, you know, how easy it is that you don't even got to get caught with anything. It's just your surroundings, whatever you're doing. You just got to make a conscious effort to say, okay, this is what I'm doing, and I'm not going to, you know, change for anyone. And then once you change what you're trying to do, I mean, I wouldn't even get in a vehicle with anyone, because once you start thinking different and on a different path, you have to remember the people that you used to hang with, they're still thinking in their old ways and doing the things they used to do. Hustling, riding around with a couple of bags of weed and a weapon wasn't nothing to me, because that was something I was doing. But once I changed my life, it was like, I can't even get in the car with this dude, or you can't even get in the car with me, because I know how you living. And it may not be nothing to you, but since I've changed my life and I'm trying to do better, you know what I mean, I can't be around these things. So, you know what I mean? So it's like a complete separation, like they say in Alcohol Anonymous, with old places, people, and things. And you have to separate yourself completely. And basically, I separated myself from people I knew from like 30 years. Like, I went to kindergarten with them, and I couldn't hang with them no more. And just so I could accomplish what I was trying to accomplish.
Such wisdom in that. I mean, you can't even get in the car with me. And so, listeners, I know you are listening in. If you really take that in, and I think that's good for all ages, not just kids, because I think this, even though this may not be your scenario, I think all of us can listen to this and think of scenarios of where there were negative, bad influence in our lives, and how we just kind of lightly, well, I'm still their friend. Well, I'm still, we still cool, we still boys, but there's some times where you've gotta go cold turkey, as they call it. So, and I don't want to brush over, you spent 3 years in federal prison, but what was the turning point for you?
My turning point was my mindset as far as like hustling was, I had that foundation of church, and so I knew I was wrong. I knew all the while I was hustling, I was dead wrong. And so it was always like, I'm going to do this till I reach this point, and I'm going to stop. I'm going to do this till I see this money, and I'm going to stop. Because
like a gambler almost.
Yeah, because I always knew I was doing wrong, but I would always justify what I was doing after I reached this point. I said, well, I'll just do it until I see this amount of money, or I'll just do it until this day or to the end of this month. And then when that time came, then I would justify, it'd be another reason why I wouldn't stop. So ironically, going to prison, gave me the opportunity to start all over again. Another thing that was heavily with me turning my life around was I got jumped in a club. And ironically, around this time, I was straddling the fence, kind of going to church, but I was still hanging out, what have you. And I went to a church, and one of the ministers at the church prophesied to me, and she said that she seen someone trying to stab me.
Wow.
And actually, have I been stabbed before? I'm like, no, I ain't never been stabbed before. I was like, you know what I mean? No. And I was like, matter, you know, and when she said it, you know what I mean, I took it like it happened before, but it wasn't something that had happened. It was something she was seeing in the future.
Yeah.
So a couple of weeks after she prophesied to me, I was in a club, and these guys jumped me, and I got hit in the head.
My God.
With a pool stick, and like about 3 or 4 times in my eye, in my head. I was opened up my head. I got scars now. It was real bloody, and I kind of got like beat with this stick. And while the guys were jumping with me, a friend of mine came and he stabbed 2 of the dudes that was like hitting me and jumping me.
Oh,
so
wow.
After the security came and they took me to the hospital, emergency room, I woke up the next morning with stitches in my head and staples, and one of my eyes was like closed. Like I said in the book, I was basically looking like the Elephant Man. And all the crew was coming up to the hospital, and they ready to retaliate. They ready to go to war, and they just ready for me to give them the sign, you know what I mean? So we can just set it off. And as I'm laying in the hospital, it dawned on me what the minister said. And I'm thinking my friend tapped them, and I'm like, this is a sign from God. You know what I mean? This is what the minister saw. And, you know, I can't retaliate. I mean, this is my warning. This is God telling me, you need to stop. You need to get right and change your life. And around that time, I had also, this happened a few months after I got indicted. So I was going back and forth to court. And so, and I knew at that time that, you know what I mean, this was my time. It was time for me to change my life. So I had, you know what I mean, came to that resolve that I had to change my life, but at the same time I was still facing time in prison. So, I mean, and after, you know what I mean, I wind up getting 48 months in prison, and basically the 2 things, me getting jumped in the prophecy and then me going to jail, you know what I mean, was the 2 turning points in my life. And again, jail gave me the opportunity to kind of start over anew.
Wow, praise God for, number one, prophets in the house, and then you recognizing this is a warning. This was a clear warning sign for me. So I salute you for that, and I think it's so important that we instill in our children, Christianity and right, doing things right with God, because even if they go astray, like the Bible says, when they become old, when later on in life, they'll come back to God, and they will remember the things of God. And so then you went through that, and then when did you decide to become an attorney?
Being an attorney is always something I wanted to do. As a matter of fact, when I graduated from high school in L.A., I did attend college briefly. I was majoring in business because I wanted to be a corporate attorney. But again, in L.A., I just wasn't focused, and I didn't, finish college in L.A. either, and that's when I wind up coming back to Buffalo. Once I got out of jail, and I was in a halfway house, I had no idea what I was going to do. Again, I got out of jail, all I had was a high school diploma. One thing I always knew, I was always very, very smart. I mean, honor roll all through, like, elementary school, high school, never studied. books always came very easy to me. So basically I was, living beneath my God-given gift as, being smart to pursue this instant gratification running around in the streets. So when I got out of jail, I knew that I was going to pursue some form of education. And that I knew my thing was I was going to try to counteract my felony with an education. And so basically saying that, okay, I got this felony, but look what I have here as far as education. So when I was in the halfway house, I got out the halfway house and I got a job driving a wheelchair van. And I was doing that job, and all the while I was like, this is not a career move. I thank God for this job, but, it's got to be something out there better for me. And I knew it would be. So I enrolled into a community college, and I wind up getting this professor in two classes. I had him for sociology and I had him for U.S. history. So I was in his class like 4 times a week. So me and him, we started to get this relationship together and this rapport. So we would talk after class. And he was like, thearthur, so what are you going to do after you finish at this community college? And I was like, well, I always wanted to be an attorney, but I don't think I can be an attorney. And he was like, well, why not? Intelligent young man. And so I had developed a relationship with him, so I felt comfortable enough to tell him. I was like, well, I'm a convicted felon. And, I just got out of the federal prison. And he said, well, does that bar you from becoming an attorney? And like most people, and this is, if y'all don't take anything out of my story, take this. You always say what they say, and you think what you can't do, because, you're just saying, well, that's what you think, or that's what they say. So my response to him was like, that's what they say, or, I don't think so. I'm speaking without doing any research into it, whether I could do it or not. So his response was, I don't know if having a felony stops you from practicing law in New York State. I'm going to check into it for you.
Wow.
So he said he's going to make some phone calls. So a week later, he asked me to stay at the class, and he told me, he said, thearthur, I got good news and I got bad news. He said the good news is that in New York State, there's not a bar to becoming an attorney. He said, but the bad news is that you can graduate from community college with your associates, get your bachelor's at a 4-year, go to law school, graduate from law school with your JD, take the bar and pass it. He said, but after that, you're going to have to go in front of this, what is called a character and committee. Is comprised of judges and lawyers. And basically, they decide whether you have the character to practice law in New York State. Because as an attorney, they have to be able to trust you. And that's the number one thing.
Right.
It's the trust factor. So you have to have moral character, and you have to prove to them that, that they can trust. You can be trustworthy because you're an officer of the court. So you have to be able to. Yeah, you have to be able to prove to them that they can trust you. So he said that character and fitness committee can tell you no. He said so.
After all of that preparation.
Yep. So he said it's up to you whether you want to take that journey. And he said if you do, I'll do whatever I can. But again, it's up to you. And we don't know what's going to happen when you go in front of that character and fitness committee. And so basically he told me, you got to live squeaky clean and do all the right things and be a good citizen and see what happens if you're going to do it. And so, again, I stepped out on faith, and, I knew God was with me. And so, I had nothing to lose.
Right.
So I did it. And, again, school was very easy. I was working, like, full-time at the time, doing community college and undergrad, and I still graduated with a 3.4 GPA.
Wow.
We only have one local law school here in Buffalo. I didn't get in. I tried to get in for 2 years. I got on the waiting list. I didn't get in, so I had to convince my wife to let me go to law school in Cleveland, which was the closest law school to Buffalo. It's a 3-hour drive.
My goodness.
At the time I'm married with 3 kids, so I had to get an apartment in Cleveland, and basically, and being that I still have my responsibilities as a father and a husband here in Buffalo, but by God's grace and having a good woman behind me, she allowed me to go to Cleveland for my first year of law school, and then I was able to transfer back to UB Law School for my final 2 years, and I graduated from UB Law School.
Woo, and successfully passed the bar. So shout out there, and shout out to your lovely wife. Shout out for her tenacity as well. Big shout out there, Lady Duncan. Oh, my goodness. So we tell listeners how they can pick up a copy of your book. You have, my goodness, this needs to be heard. This really needs to be heard and seen, a movie or something else. But we're going to start with the book. So tell people how they can get a copy of your book.
You can go on my website, which is felon-attorney.com. Again, that's felon-attorney.com. It's also available on mascotbooks.com, which is my publisher. And you can also find it on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com.
And listen, there are glowing reviews on Amazon. There's over almost 50 reviews, all 5-star, just a couple 4-star, but all 98% 5-star. So you got social proof right there if you're hanging out on Amazon and checking it out here. Gosh, our time flew by. Can you let listeners know, is it just at your website? If they want you to come speak for an event or conference, can they do that on your website as well?
Yeah, they can do it on my website. Also, they can inbox me on Facebook, thearthur-a-duncan Esquire.com. That's my author page. Also, my personal page is thearthur-Tone Duncan, because everybody calls me Tone. They can inbox me. They can reach me at 716-348-0992. Again, that's 716-348-0992. But again, all that information is on the website. I'm starting to do speaking engagement at different colleges. I've done some at some high schools. So I'm just trying to spread the word. And, my book is something there for everybody. Even an ex-felon, it gives you hope. Hopefully it will give people that they have a position to be able to hire an ex-felon to give them a second chance. I graduated from law school at the age of 43 with a wife and 5 kids. So and with that, I'll tell you it's never too late to pursue your goals. So it's something in the book there for everybody, the spiritual element, because God was with me the whole time. And so it's something in there for everybody.
Everybody, felon attorney, pick it up, and support. And so I just salute you. I really honestly do salute you for just being an example and a testament, a testament to people and going through and not giving up. So we salute you. And so my last question for you, the goal of my show is to motivate, excite, and influence. And what continues to motivate you?
God, I believe this is my assignment. I have a few people that tell me that I shouldn't have told this story, that I should have kept it to myself, but God blessed me so tremendously. This is my testimony. Yeah. This is my assignment, and it needs to be told. And it was all done by God's grace. And the ironic spin of all this is that I'm now employed as an attorney, as a city attorney, and as part of my job, I defend the police department. So the same people that used to arrest me when I was on the block and hit me upside the head and arrest me, now I defend them in civil litigation when they're sued. So when God bless you, He bless you so tremendously and so big that you cannot point to anything but God. So when people hear my story, they will say, "That's nothing but God." That's nothing but God. And God,
absolutely.
that's my motivation. And it's also my motivation, again, this to be an example for people, young men, that you can change your life around and don't take my route. You can do it the straight way. But if you don't, it's still hope. So either way, I would tell you to do it the straight way, go straight to college and do it the right way first. But even if you don't and you make some mistakes, don't give up on yourself. You know what I mean? You can still, you know what I mean, be a productive citizen, as my uncle would say. And, you know what I mean, and do something with yourself and be something and make something out of yourself.
Absolutely. Listen, I'm getting messages. My sister just texted me, hey, Kimberly. She was like, I'm listening to the show, and what a great testimony on how far he has come. I got a message from Twitter, Carla R. Jenkins. Man, it was getting good. I got cut off. Listen, no problem. If you didn't hear everything, you can go to Sharvette.com, and the rebroadcast is all there, Sharvette.com. You can listen as many times as you want and share the link with a friend. Well, our time is up. Again, thank you so much for stopping by, and it's just been really a pleasure to feature you on the show.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. All right, listeners, that's going to be a wrap for today. You want to check back with us next week as we have more phenomenal guests. Again, Sharvette.com has everything you need about our guests, their full bios, links to purchase, and all that. We're going to see y'all guys next week.
Live from Richmond, Virginia, you have been listening to the Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show. Connect with her at Sharvette.com. And until next week, stay motivated, excited, and influenced. The Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show. Signing off.